Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Peter and today we're going to be discussing Bitcoin. There's a lot of traders out there. There's a lot of traders online that are talking about some bearish technicals appearing on the Bitcoin price chart. We're seeing contracting price action on Bitcoin as the price is heading higher, right? Making some sort of a wedge type of pattern. That's typically a bearish pattern. So is it time to be selling your Bitcoin? Is it time to be shorting Bitcoin? We're going to be covering that in this video. We're going to take a look at the short-term picture on Bitcoin and then of course take a look at the longer term picture. And when I'm talking about the longer term picture, I'm talking about this bull market cycle. Where is Bitcoin going to be topping at the end of this bull market? That is, after all, the question that everybody is asking. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So what are those bearish technicals that everyone's talking about on Bitcoin? And the first one is the volume. We're seeing a decline in Bitcoin's traded volume whilst price is continuing on higher. That's typically a bearish signal. And for example, in the stock market, that can be a sign that the market is soon going to be reversing. We also have divergence between the price and momentum. So we've got the MACD on here and you can see what's happening. We're getting lower highs on the MACD whilst price is making higher highs. That's often the sign of an overextended trend. So is it time to be selling our Bitcoins based on these technicals? And to answer that question, we're going to go back in Bitcoin's price history to actually see if these are indicators and signals that actually predict significant tops in Bitcoin. That's probably one of the first rules in technical analysis. When you're trading based on an indicator, the first thing that you need to see, does it actually work with the price history that I'm looking at? Because you can use a lot of fancy indicators to give you all sorts of price signals, but if the price history does not tell you that this has a proven track record, then that indicator is not something to pay attention to. So that's the first thing that we're going to do in this video. Take a look at the significant tops in Bitcoin's price chart. We're going to go on the log scale chart to see that curve more clearly. And I'm going to start off by putting vertical lines at the significant top. So of course we have one right here at the very top of that bull market. We have one right here. That's a significant top. We have one right here. That's another significant top. One right here. And so these 6 vertical lines represent very well the significant tops in Bitcoin. And now we can take a look at whether we see declining volume and momentum divergence before these significant tops. So first of all, the big bull market top, did we see declining volume? Not really, right? No declining volume. Volume was pretty much steady throughout this entire rally. Did we see momentum divergence with the MACD going down when the price is going up? Absolutely not. We saw a huge spike in the MACD, blowing all previous highs out of the water. Let's take a look at this next top right here. No declining volume, no real divergence on the daily chart. You've got a little bit of declining volume right here. You did have a high and then another high with declining volume, but no divergence. And same thing with these tops here. No volume decline and no MACD divergence. So again, that speaks to the importance of actually doing the work, going back throughout the Bitcoin price history and see if the indicator that you're preaching actually works. So it doesn't look like this has any predictive value on Bitcoin. I'm going to show you in just a second an indicator that does have predictive value. So I would not put a large correction or significant top on Bitcoin as a high probability event. Now, is that something you should be prepared for? Absolutely. We're starting to get into the speculative phase of the bull market, right? Your friends, your family are starting to get into Bitcoin. That's when it's starting to get dangerous. And throughout this phase, right, throughout this next phase of the bull market, we are going to see some wild moves. And you got to be prepared for large drawdowns like we had throughout 2017. That's what we always remind our members on gameoftrades.net. You should always be prepared for a significant drop, a 30% drop on Bitcoin, because that's what the Bitcoin price history tells us is possible. So if we have a 30% drop right now, we'll be buying the dip all over again at these levels. Now I'm going to get back to that log scale right here, and I'm going to give you guys an indicator that actually does have predictive values for these significant tops. And that indicator is very simple. It's the percentage difference between the price and the 50-day moving average. And you can see I've put that 50-day moving average right here. And so this is basically a really easy way to tell you if the short-term price action is extremely overextended compared to the general trend of Bitcoin. And you can see that gives you an indicator that oscillates up and down. And we can put two lines on this indicator that gives us a buy signal when this line is hit and a sell signal when this line is hit. And you can see that captures almost every significant top that we put in beforehand right here. That's a tag of that line. That's not quite a tag of that line, but almost right there. That's a sell signal. Right here, you had a sell signal just before that significant top. And right here at the very top of the bull market. So this is actually an indicator that you can use to predict tops in Bitcoin. We're not in the same market. We don't have the same price action as the stock market. This is not the same market. So we cannot fall into the trap of using traditional indicators to predict Bitcoin price action. It's a whole other story. By the way, if you haven't already clicked on the like button, make sure to go ahead and do that, especially if you're finding this analysis useful, if it's giving you a more clear picture of how to actually predict Bitcoin's price action. Hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. So we can take a look at what that indicator is telling us right now. We had a sell signal back here, right there. That was a tag of that line telling you that price is overextended. So you sell right there. That was a great time to be booking profits on Bitcoin. But are we on a sell signal right now? Absolutely not. Bitcoin is not overextended. We've been coiling upwards, and that's starting to coil a lot of energy into Bitcoin, potentially for a large move up. Now, if you think about why this indicator works, why does every single significant top on Bitcoin come with an overextended reading? That's because Bitcoin always trades like a bubble. The demand for Bitcoin is so vastly superior to the amount of Bitcoins that are in circulation that it creates these huge price movements that lead to big euphoric blow off tops where sentiment gets way too hot and you get a parabolic move. So we're not in the same market as a typical stock market where you'll have a bear market due to monetary tightening. This is a whole different game. Now let's move on to the second part of this video where I take a look at the Bitcoin bull market targets. And the first thing that I want to take a look at, we're going to jump to a weekly chart of Bitcoin, is this indicator right here, the growth curves. Now I don't think this is the only indicator, but it does represent pretty well most of these types of indicators. Is this something that you should be using in your analysis? Now, the first thing I do want to address on this indicator is that most of these were created post 2017, right? So after we topped. And the reason for that is because you can't actually make this indicator unless you have two data points for the significant tops. So that's just something to keep in mind when looking at these indicators. Now, the second thing I want to discuss is the fact that we're starting to get very close to that red zone right here. So that would put the Bitcoin top around here. Is that something that we could potentially see? And if we use the same logic as we discussed earlier, where Bitcoin ends in a blow off top move, we can measure this move up here. Bitcoin went all the way from $3,000 all the way to $20,000 in 90 days here. That's what you call a blow off top. That's a 480% move. Now, even if we take this last leg up here from $5,000 to $20,000, that's still a 250% move up in less than 50 days. So if we have a 250% move up from current levels, so a blow off top in Bitcoin that would put in the top of the bull market, that would take us to around here. That would be above that last resistance of the growth curve. So that's just the first reason why we're a little bit skeptical of these growth curve indicators. Now, we are going to get comments saying that the blow off top might be less than 250%. What if it's just a 150 or 70% move up, that would still be some sort of a blow off top, although that would be weaker than all three examples we already have. That would be the weakest blow off top we have. But is that a plausible scenario? And the answer is absolutely not, because that would mean the bull market ends in around June. And that's just not something that's going to be happening. Now, could we perhaps have a weaker blow off top than the three previous big bull market tops? That is a possibility, right? If we have, let's say, a 170% move up in 50 days from current levels, that would take us to around $170,000 for around June 2021. If we see this type of move from current levels, would it be a good idea booking profits at these levels? Absolutely, right? And I'm going to show you why that's the case. One of the indicators that we're paying attention to is the stock to flow model. That's something a lot of traders are paying attention to. But what we want to see when we're exiting Bitcoin is we want to see price above the stock to flow model. So stock to flow for 2022 is around $80,000 to $90,000. There's a very low probability that Bitcoin tops before that. Now we're using this stock to flow model in combination with the price action. So if we see parabolic price action and the price is above the stock to flow model, that's the moment to be booking profits. And we'll be watching the price action using a lot of different indicators, including the one that we discussed before. And you can see what happened with the blow off top in 2017. Bitcoin really started to get massively overextended above that line. And same thing with the 2013 tops, massively overextended above that line. So if we start to hit this line at 54, so if in 2021 we start to see Bitcoin really take off and start to hover above this line, that will likely be much higher than current levels, and we will be happy to take profits off the table at that moment. Now, if you want details on our exact strategy for trading Bitcoin and other altcoins, our specific targets, the actual technicals day-to-day, our opinions on altcoins like XRP, make sure to go and check out gameoftrades.net. It's highly likely that you'll enjoy our service, and there's a lot more features that are coming along in the next few months. We're very excited about all that, so don't hesitate to go and check it out. Now, that's about all I wanted to cover in this episode. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In the meantime, good luck on your trading and see you next time.